Welcome back, everybody. 33 minutes after the hour. I hope you're all doing well as we get ready to ramp up on this Thursday program, but there's still plenty to get to. I want to thank Susan Demas for her time in the last half hour. We've had a great show going on so far, and we plan to continue that great tradition. I want to play for you a little bit of audio from Bernie Sanders' kickoff event. But before we get to that, let me just tell you that I have been just astounded by how well Bernie Sanders continues to do. Not because I don't think he has the proper message. He obviously does. Not because he doesn't resonate with a faction of the Democratic Party that really feels underrepresented. And there was great hope that Elizabeth Warren was going to run. But there all along was Bernie Sanders, and the rumor that he was going to run for the presidency in the 2016 cycle was something that people were taking a little bit for granted, to be honest with you. Well, I'm glad that they woke up, because the reality is Bernie Sanders looks like the real deal. Joining us now is Bruce Fealk. Bruce, of course, is no stranger to this audience. Bruce hosted a house party last night, and so we thought we would get some impressions from him before we get to some audio. Bruce, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Tony. Thanks.
Well, tell me, how did your house party go? I know when I talked to you off the air, you had originally planned for 20, but that list looked to be growing.
Well, we had actually 15 people show up. I just checked my rolls here. But that's about to be expected. We had a few people call me, and so a few people came that weren't on my list. But I mean, we had a really enthusiastic group, and people left here excited. They left here willing to hit the pavement and go to work for Bernie. So that's what he was really after last night.
Well, explain to me, listen, this is a record-setting number. More than 100,000 people RSVP'd. There were, just all kinds of house parties across the country. This, of course, goes back to the record number he drew in Portland, Maine, in Madison, Wisconsin, and you happened to be there for that. And some others, they're just in Phoenix. He drew 11,000. They had to change the venue 3 times to find a venue that was suitable for him in Phoenix. And so, I said a lot of people, and you were one of those, was hopeful that that Elizabeth Warren was going to run. Yet Bernie Sanders was there all along. Are you finding that the people that have crossed the line, if you will, from Elizabeth Warren to Bernie Sanders are pleased at this point with having him as the candidate?
Well, I know that the Run Warren Run group got 100% behind Bernie, so I can't imagine there's anyone that's I'm sure they would like to see Elizabeth Warren run, but I think that sentiment really came from the fact that people like me thought she had a little bit more gravitas, she was getting a little bit more attention in the press, and so but as far as, like I've said on this show before, Tony, is I don't think there's a nickel's worth of difference policy-wise between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. And Bernie's, I think, maybe even better, because what Bernie's doing is really interesting in that he's going after the building of a political revolution in this country. And I think had Elizabeth Warren gotten in, maybe she wouldn't have taken that tack. And that's really what's going to happen, because, I've told people last night, and I think Bernie says this, he's not going to have the $2.5 billion budget that Hillary Clinton's going to have. But where is Hillary going to get that money? She's going to get a lot of that money from the people that probably Bernie doesn't want to get any money from, namely Wall Street, some of the oil interests, because, I mentioned, I think yesterday when I called in about the Hillary Clinton answer at her town hall about the Keystone XL pipeline, I was listening to the show earlier with Richard Zombeck, and I just don't buy the explanation that she can't comment. I think she doesn't want to comment on TPP or the XL pipeline, but I think she's not beholden to the idea of not legally anyway, not commenting on those two issues. And those are two huge issues for progressives and other people in this country that are watching politics really closely right now.
Well, and that's why I made the comment that I made, that there are certainly issues, like you had mentioned yesterday on Keystone. She can certainly comment on that. She can certainly comment on the fight for 15. I mean, there are issues that she can absolutely comment on that have absolutely nothing to do with her time as Secretary of State. Now, I realize there are some of those issues that she would need to walk a fine line or really would have to walk away from, but none of those issues fit into that category, Bruce.
No, I don't think so. And I think, to me, she's shooting herself in the foot, because I think answers like that, or non-answers like that, I should say, about the TPP or about Keystone XL or committing to a $15 minimum wage, those are things that progressives, the Democratic base, are really concerned about, because the middle class, the lower middle class, the lower strata of income in this country have really been hammered, as Elizabeth Warren is famous for saying. And the system is rigged, and Bernie Sanders is the only one I think people can really believe, because he's been fighting for these issues his entire life, certainly his entire political career, and probably even before he got into politics. So, Bernie just, to me, comes across as much more believable, much more trustworthy, and I think that's why he's getting these huge crowds all across the country. And like you said, he's even going into the Deep South. I think he was in Houston, he was in Louisiana. He had 5,000 people in a venue where Bobby Jindal, the governor of the state, only had 1,000 people when he launched his campaign. So there's something really going on here. And I think that the Washington pundits are completely missing it, or they're just not paying attention. I don't know which it is, but Bernie is not getting the media attention that he really deserves. To me, he should be on every Sunday show. He should be on the front page of the Washington Post and the New York Times. And what he's doing. This story about the house party should be front page news in the New York Times, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and let's and I know, as far as you're concerned, and you're partisan, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's not that the media has necessarily ignored him. What they're not doing, though, is giving him the same attention they're giving somebody like Donald Trump, who does not deserve. At this point, Donald Trump is a carnival barker. We know what he's going to do. We know he's going to insult someone today. It's going to happen. Why is that getting more attention? Does that get more readers necessarily? Well, frankly, Bruce, for someone that's serious about their politics like you are and like I am, when's the media going to wake up to the reality that there are some of us, in fact, many of us, that want to see serious reporting on issues, on candidates. And to me, everything that's happening on the Republican side of the aisle right now, with the exception of very, very few candidates and very few statements, isn't even newsworthy, in my opinion.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, they're reporting on Donald Trump and his bombacity and insulting the other candidates, insulting the president, insulting Democrats, insulting immigrants, undocumented immigrants. I mean, it's just a long list of things. He's just insulting people. I think when you were talking with Susan Demas, a few minutes ago, I think, they're just paying attention to the loudest voice in the room. And Donald Trump has the loudest voice, but he doesn't know the issues. When I keep watching this in discussion about the Iran deal, I wish someone would ask these Republicans, did you read it? I bet you, if they were honest, which I have a hard time believing they would be, that they haven't read the deal. They were, as much as they were chiding people, Gary Peters, for not having read the Affordable Care Act, I'll bet you they haven't read the deal with Iran, and yet they're criticizing it all over the place, putting out these outrageous commercials, and it's just a joke what the Republican Party has become.
Indeed, I think you said that perfectly. It has become a joke, and we're about to next week on Thursday will be the first Fox News quote unquote Republican day. We'll find out later on today who is going to make that list. That shouldn't, again, be news, but it will be. And then we'll spend a week with all kinds of pundits and analysts, even on MSNBC, going through the finer details, which I find a waste of time and energy, but I don't get to make the decision. I used to watch debates for what I thought were obvious reasons, especially in the primary season. I wanted to know what the differences were between the candidates. I wanted to know where they stood on issues. Well, I look on the Democratic side, and of course, come sometime in August, the Democrats will have an opportunity for them to take their shake at this. But Bruce, this has become, and I'm not just talking about this year, the Republicans have become a sideshow, and they take all the air out of the room when it comes to media because of the asinine statements that they make, or what they're going to forget to say, or the senior moment that they might have, a la Rick Perry. When I want to talk and I want to hear from people like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, I'd like to know more about Martin O'Malley. I want to know where the hell Jim Webb is at. You're a candidate. Why are you hiding? There's just so much going on that the media is ignoring. And it's very frustrating, especially when a candidate like Bernie Sanders talks about the issues that I need to talk about. It's what I've done for years, and this is what I want to talk about. And yet the media ignores these folks, and it's very frustrating, as you well know.
Well, it is really frustrating. I was just doing a little math to this, and I just want to correct you. What I've heard reporting on as far as the Fox News debate is they're going to let anyone in that has more than 1% based on whatever polls they choose. And
well,
so I think
I saw that this morning as well, but they've not necessarily confirmed that. And so, again, that's the point, is we just don't know. And that's the bottom line is, and why does it matter if they've got 1%? So why are you changing the rules now? This is just, I get so frustrated.
Well, the thing to me that's interesting too, and Rachel Maddow was talking about this last night, is it's changed. The Fox News debate and the Citizens United have changed the entire face of campaigning, especially in the Republican Party, because they have the people at the bottom of the polling. They have to campaign not to the people, not talk about issues. They just have to try to get their poll numbers up so they can get on that stage, because most political observers feel that if whoever's not on that stage, their campaign is effectively over. And I think that's why you're seeing the Donald Trumps of the world making all this noise, because anyone, whoever is the noisiest candidate, the loudest candidate at this point, is going to get attention. They're going to get media. And I think, I don't think there's an equivalency, and it frustrates me that the media is trying to draw this equivalency between Donald Trump on the right and Bernie Sanders on the left. I don't think there's any equivalency between the two candidates and what's happening with their campaigns whatsoever. But that seems to be what the media likes to do.
Right, and they were doing this when Elizabeth Warren was still a potential candidate. They were comparing her to Ted Cruz, which drove me nuts. I want to go back to last night, the House parties. Bernie Sanders, of course, was via video available to everybody. This is how he began the evening.
Hey, greetings, Tony. I just got...
Join me in fighting for change across our great nation. Join me now in welcoming our candidate for President of the United States, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, let me thank Kemi for that great introduction. The only problem is she gave half my speech. All right, but I'll have to do the best that I can do. And as Kemi indicated, tonight really is an historical night, and all of us are part of making history. To the best of our knowledge, there has never been a political online organizing effort this early in a campaign which involved over 100,000 people in 3,500 locations in every state in the United States of America. That's pretty impressive, and I thank you all very much for making it happen. I am often asked by the media why there is so much excitement in our campaign. Why have so many people come out to our rallies? Why have we received over 325,000 individual contributions, more than any other candidate? Why are we seeing spontaneous uprisings, if you like, and meetings in cities and towns all over this country? And here is my answer. My answer is that the American people are saying loudly and clearly, enough is enough. This great country and our government belong to all of us and not just a handful of billionaires. Enough is enough. We cannot, as a nation, continue to have the most unequal distribution of wealth and income of any major country on earth. No, it is not acceptable that the rich get richer and everybody else gets poorer, that while we see a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, we have more kids living in poverty than any other major industrialized society. No, it is not right that major corporations make billions of dollars in profit and in some cases pay nothing at all in federal taxes. Enough is enough. We have got to reverse the 40-year decline of the American middle class. While we have seen an explosion in technology and in worker productivity, there is something wrong when millions of our people are working 2 or 3 jobs to cobble together an income and some health care. Enough is enough. We cannot continue to maintain a starvation minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. It is wrong that people are working 40 or 50 hours a week and still living in poverty.
And there you go, Bruce Fealk. And tell me, as far as your party went, what was the reaction from the people that assembled?
Well, I think everyone got the message. I think certainly Bernie's onto something there with the enough is enough. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Network, probably decades ago now, but the main theme of that was, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I think there's a lot of that sentiment in the electorate on both sides probably, but I think the fact that there's a progressive in the race is really exciting to people. And this main thing Bernie wanted to go after last night was to get people to volunteer. Again, because he knows he's not going to have the money, but he had, I think within 2 weeks of launching his campaign, he had 175,000 people that had volunteered to work on his campaign. I haven't seen any numbers, but I have to believe if that's what he had in 2 weeks, and he's been out on that trail for 2 months at this point, maybe 3 months, is that he's probably got well over 1 million volunteers, and that was the main focus. They really harped on the idea of getting people to sign up to volunteer, either using a text or they have a web page that people can go to. And they had a long list, longer than I've ever seen, of different things that people could do to help the campaign. So that was his main focus last night. And I think everyone at my party anyway really left here excited. And I want to mention too, before, I know we have a few more minutes here, but I want to mention there's a great group in Michigan. And I want to just give out just one website, michiganforbernie.com. They've been working all over the state. I was at a party or a meeting they had in Lansing 2 weeks ago, and they had maybe 30 people show up. They had, I know as far as the parties go, they had down at the Hopcat restaurant in Detroit last night, they had over 400 people show up that's not even a house party, that's just a party at that venue. So people are really excited, and I think the thing that it is Bernie's campaign, and you didn't get to see the visual, I don't know, with the audio that I sent you, but it was really interesting to me too, the visual that went with that speech. He looked like he was maybe in a union hall with some of the Bernie placards behind him. It was not a fancy venue that he was in. He just stepped up to a podium with some paper notes, no teleprompter, and it sounded like he had, I'm guessing, 50 people in the room, but he was playing. That broadcast went out, like we've talked about, to over 100,000 people last night, and that really is something unprecedented, especially this early in the campaign. So if people want to get out and help Bernie, or they can go, I think you put a link on your website already to an article I posted that has the entire video, that people can go watch that entire video. And sign up to volunteer. If people are excited about Bernie, don't just listen to this broadcast. Go sign up at michiganforbernie.com or go to berniesanders.com and sign up to volunteer and really make a difference in our electoral politics.
Well, people can also text the word work, WORK, to 82623. That's the word work to 82623. And then, as you said, they can go to berniesanders.com/work and sign up there. And, we did mention that he's had 325,000 donations by just individuals. No PAC money, no big, huge corporate CEOs, no Wall Street, blah, 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 blah. That's significant. Obviously, he's generating enough money that he's able to be a viable candidate. And you can bet if his numbers continue to move, Bruce, in the direction they've been moving in, that he will continue to generate enough money to keep this candidacy viable, and it's already legitimate. And obviously his message is resonating with people. And so we'll see what happens. But I'm glad that you had a successful event last night. Again, there were over 100,000 people in over 3,500 locations around the country. That's a big deal. I mean, at the end of the day, Bruce, that is a big deal. And at least as Democrats, we have, even though we might be unhappy with Hillary right now, we're not hearing as much from Martin O'Malley as I'm sure some would like. We've not heard from Jim Webb at all. At least we have serious candidates that are not clowns. And so I'll take that. I truly will take that. And as you and I discussed yesterday, listen, if Hillary ends up being the candidate, certainly we're going to support her. Certainly we're going to vote for her. But primaries are primaries for a reason. And right now we expect more from all of our candidates, including Bernie. I want him to expand on his populist message. I want him to start talking about other things. I'll hold him to that. I don't have a problem doing that. But Bruce, I think we have a reason to be excited.
I'm really excited. On some level, and I was excited about Barack Obama, but on some level, I'm even more excited about Bernie Sanders because he really is building this political revolution. He's getting the people even more involved, I think, than they were for Barack Obama, and that's my perspective. I just feel like, and I think what's happened over the Obama administration too is people have gotten more frustrated because of the obstruction that's happened. I think as good a president as I think Obama is going to go down as in history, because he everyone talks about now, he's a consequential president, no question about it. But I get frustrated in that I think that there could have been so much more that could have gotten done had he only had a little bit more cooperation from just a handful of Republicans even. And it's just a shame that we couldn't have gotten that done. So I think we need Bernie Sanders to go forward, finish the job. And, Bernie talks unabashedly about single-payer health care. He talks about a $15 minimum wage in this country. He talks about social justice. He's now addressing, the police reforms that we need, to the militarization of the police, the terrible treatment of African Americans by police all over the country. And those are things that I think are going to step to the fore, especially when we get to the general election. The Republicans are going to have their campaign. They're going to talk about all the crap they talk about, and they're going to have all their silliness, and they're going to have Donald Trump. But Bernie is way so much different than Donald Trump, even though they're on opposite sides of the spectrum, in that Bernie's talking about real problems that affect every American every day in their lives. And I think that's what's going to make the difference, come the end of the day. And he's going to force, if nothing else, he's going to force Hillary, I think, to talk about some of the issues I'm sure she would rather not talk about, or not talk about in specific